All right, welcome back to Virtual School Assembly. Today our guest is Rose Wetzel. Rose is a two-time American Ninja Warrior finalist and a professional obstacle course racer. She ran track and cross country for 4 years at Georgetown University, where she clocked a 4:42 mile. As an entrepreneur at heart, she started her own personal training business, Rose Runner Sports and Fitness. And now as a mom, she continues to train while running her businesses. Welcome to the show, Rose.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Great to be here.
So there's a lot in there, and we'll get to the Ninja Warrior stuff because that's what kids are so excited to hear about that. But I want to dig into some of the earlier stuff first, because one thing that I didn't read from your bio is you're from a really big family. So talk about that, about growing up in a big family, and what was that like for you?
So I grew up with the 8th of 9 kids, which is pretty rare these days, but I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters, and we grew up under the poverty lines. We definitely had our own kind of ingrained obstacles. We did these big paper routes to make ends meet, but I did get a good education that really helped a lot as far as like social mobility and opening up doors for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy and wild and fun and hectic and awesome and hard and all the things.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really visualize that unless you've experienced it. My wife is from a similarly big family that grew up poor, and it's crazy when we compare experiences, just because I don't know what that's like, to have such a big family. So
yeah, totally. You're a team. You're part of a team at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you have to learn to really be independent. Like, remember, if I wanted to do a sport or something, I had to like vie for it. Like, okay, I can pay for it with my babysitting money. Heather's parents can pick me up. They're the coach. Like that type of stuff. And for me, it was a treat. It was a real privilege to get to do a sport. Or a couple times I went to summer camp. I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna come back and work here, and I did. So when I have parents who are like, how do I get my kids really passionate about something? It's like, well, I don't know, but forcing them usually is not going to work. Like I did what I did because I loved it. So it's always important to think like, am I loving this? Am I having fun? That you're using that type of mindset. Yeah.
So while you were growing up and into high school, did you play a lot of sports, or did you mostly focus on the running?
Yeah, I played a handful of sports. So I did soccer in middle school, grade school, like 6th, 7th, 5th grade, I think. And then basketball in more like 7th, 8th grade. And then when I got to high school, I didn't make the JV basketball team. I made this JV soccer team, but it's not like I was good in, grade school, but one of the best. But in high school, I wasn't necessarily one of the best when it came to those sports that people who'd been playing for a long time, not to make excuses, but who'd gone to the summer camps and been playing for a long time and all that. They just had better skills than I had.
Right.
And I realized at one point, the reason I was pretty good at soccer in general, just as a kid, was just because I could run. It's not because I had these fancy ball skills necessarily. I'd play with my brother sometimes, but it's not like I was really going to highly specialized camps and things like that. Right. So I ended up realizing that I really love running. It turns out there are 2 sports for running, track and cross country. So I stopped playing soccer in my sophomore year so that I could do cross country instead. And I was just able to maximize my potential then. But I do think it was important that I did those other sports, that I had, some success and then some, not necessarily wild success, to just really appreciate it and find my niche, embrace it, and run with it.
Very good. Now, when you did track in high school, did you just do the longer events, or did you do any of the shorter sprints as well?
No, I was actually more of a middle distance runner. So I was a state champion twice in the 800 meters. Okay. I also did 1600 meters and the 4x4. So I did, that's some sprinting, really. 4x4 is a sprint. Right. And never really did the 2 miles. So I like the middle stuff, but I do cross country, which is 5K. So that was more distance, but everyone was doing that. So that was the only option, of course. But yeah, no, I actually have really preferred middle distance pretty much always. Shorter stuff, but
So you just like to be in pain all the time? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very intense. There's no doubt about that. But I think that I said before, I like to run faster than my mind can follow, because I see running as a vacation for my mind. So it's not just like, oh, I'm going to go do a bunch of work, which it is. It's work. Training is work, right? Uh-huh. But at the end of the day, I had really awesome teammates that I loved, and I loved being a part of a team. And it's almost like a vacation for my mind when I can run so quickly. Like now as an adult with responsibilities, like, you know, I'm like, I forgot it's my brother's birthday tomorrow. I gotta remember to call him, and I've got to remember to pick up this from the grocery store. Like all these things that are going through my mind. It's almost like a meditation. Like when I'm running fast, especially when I'm running fast, it's like my mind is clear. I'm just like, okay, look down, you're split. Okay, next 200 meters split. And so lately I've embraced running longer, especially during COVID, actually. But in general, just the races I do for like Spartan type races, those are just longer, these obstacle course races. So I've had to adapt to what the sport is, which is just like at least usually an hour of racing. And then now I've even challenged myself to see how long I can run, where I'm running like over an hour a day. Not every day. Some days are only 40 minutes, but then some days it'll be an hour and a half. And I ran 80 miles last week, which is not something you want to do unless you've really barely built up, 2 weeks up, 1 week down, like that. But it's been a different type of kind of meditation, because instead of just going out in the forest and like looking at everything around me, which is awesome, I want to get there. I'm not quite there yet in my mind. But I respect those that can just clear their mind and be out there for an hour and a half in the woods and enjoy it. I've been listening to books, and that's been fantastic. I'm like listening to all these awesome books that are super inspiring, and some of them about meditation, some of them about, you know, so anyways, that's been really great for me, challenging myself in a new way, and finding a way to make it so that the parts that are harder for me are doable.
Right. Well, that's great. I often will have students or other people ask me how I read so much, because we're halfway through the year. I've already read 100 books. And that's my answer is I'm a runner. I just go out and I listen while I'm running. And if you run for an hour or two every day, you read 100 books. So it's not that hard. So
yeah.
Cool.
That's super cool. I wish I'd found it more than just in COVID, when I was like, well, I can't run with anybody. Guess I better find another way. And I was like, audiobooks, and then you can speed them up, so you can read them at like twice the speed I could have been able to read them like visually. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and the cool thing about that too is research has shown that you can retain just as much information listening as you can actually reading. And so I'll have students all the time that will be, well, that's not really reading. You're not really doing books. Well, maybe not, but I'm actually learning more by listening. So I'm okay with that.
I'm with you. Yeah.
All
totally.
Right. Well, let's talk about your education a bit. You made a huge jump growing up in Seattle and then taking a full scholarship at Georgetown, which is on the other side of the country. Why did you decide to go so far from home? And, what went into that decision?
Well, I would say, my family was going through some hard times at the time. A couple of my brothers have mental illnesses, and we didn't quite, they're in much better places now, but we were still trying to figure out how to take care of them, how to help them, all of that. And so it was tumultuous at home. There's no sugarcoating. It was a tumultuous time. And I remember just thinking, like, just being so excited about going to college and this experience. And Georgetown was this really great combination of really high academics, also really high athletics.
Right.
And it was far away, which was just good enough for me at the time to start to kind of, instead of just being one of the Wetzel kids, I was able to form my own identity more. And I've always been adventurous. So it was neat to just go to the other coast and check it out and have the experience. And I had a wonderful time, make wonderful friends that I'll have forever. So it's a good decision.
So I did a similar thing when I was in college. We went from, I grew up in the West, and then I went to East Coast for graduate school. And I found one of the greatest benefits there was just becoming more independent and learning what I wanted for myself. As you mentioned, I'm, not one of the Wetzel kids anymore. I never was. I'm a Christian. But you know what I mean? It was cool to kind of go out and forge my own identity. What were some of the other benefits of just being away and starting like totally fresh in a new place?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like what I loved about summer camp. When you first go to summer camp, you can reinvent yourself. When you go to summer camp, you can reinvent yourself. And when you first go to college, you can as well. So when you go to summer camp, you're not like, you might be the poor kid in school or the rich kid in school or the, person who's good at this or that or the math nerd or the whatever. And then you can go to summer camp and you can just be another kid who wants to go play outside and, have fun, hike, eat s'mores, tell, scary stories. And that's you, right? No one has to know about this or that going on at home, if your parents are going through divorce or whatever obstacle you're going through, or even something that maybe you're good at, but you don't always want to be known as, the best juggler ever. Sometimes you just want to be a normal kid, whatever, right? If you're some genius and you're like, it's too much right now. So same with going away to college, and for me going far away, not that you have to go far away to do this, but it does give one a chance to reflect and say, like, who do I want to be? Like, maybe I haven't always been like a super kind person. I'm kind of like more sarcastic, but maybe like, I'd like to have some more friends or better friends, or maybe I got caught up in kind of a bad crowd and that kind of got me into trouble. And now I want to focus on school more because I always want to be a veterinarian. And I know that to be when I really have to study better and I can't just like be, partying or whatever. So you just get a chance to reflect and say, hey, who do I want to be? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I headed towards? And are the people around me going to help me get to those goals and that life, not just the goals, the life that I want. So it's not just about I hit the goal, hooray. Well, a lot of people hit their goals and are miserable because in the process they ditched all their friends and they were so narrowly focused that they're there at the top, but they're by themselves and they're miserable. So I feel like for me, it's always, there's a goal and there's a balance. But yeah, so for college, just going away, it was fun and it was good for me. And at the beginning, especially the first year of college, before people form their cliques, people are very kind generally, I found, because everyone's feeling vulnerable. Nobody really has friends. Maybe they have one or two friends that came to the same college, but I think that's a beautiful time for people to become like, hi, what's your name? And let their guard down, even if they were the cool kids or the whatever. So that part was neat.
Right. That's cool. Well, and it laid a foundation for you as far as it being an adventurer. How young were you when you started doing the Spartan races or the obstacle course type races?
I was in my 30s, actually.
Oh, okay. So long after college.
Yeah, and actually that 442 mile I ran was also in my 30s.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, so don't give up, people. Don't give up. So, state champion a couple times in high school, but in college, I was a junior All-American in the 1500 my freshman year. So that was definitely like something substantial. But other than that, I didn't make the cross country like varsity team. I was like number 8 for 4 years, pretty much, in college. Top 10 school, very good school, but I chose a school that I knew I would be one of the worst, but it would cause me to step up my game, if you will. Right. And that was good for me. It's fine. Sometimes people thrive better as a big fish in a small pond. Sometimes people are better off, as a small fish in a big pond. So you got to think about what you're like and all that. But I knew I wanted to go to a really good school. And I was fine with being, not one of the best on the team, thinking, well, I'll learn from them and get better. And I did get better. Just took like almost a decade. So I was, not running faster in college than I was in high school for a couple years, like sophomore, junior. And I was like, but sometimes that's just life. Sometimes college is really hard because you are out of your comfort zone and things are jiving and then they're not. And the easy classes are in the beginning, but then they get really hard or vice versa, whatever. So you just, stick with it and ask for help. I definitely went to counseling in college when I first got there because my coach was like, tell me about all your siblings. And I was like, well, there's this one has mental illness and is really going through a tough time. And I started crying. He's like, okay, sports psychologist. Like, we didn't talk about sports. We talked about family. But I'm so glad that I did. I got to talk about family, talk about my issues, my obstacles. And that helped me get through college, through all 4 years running, graduated with honors, and, set myself up for what I thought would be this really great life. Until a few months later, I was back begging, or not begging, but checking people out at the local grocery store that I worked at since I was 16. And I was like, what is this sociology degree from Georgetown really doing for me? But, to be fair, I also didn't have the same like social connections from my parents and stuff. So I didn't learn about networking and all this. It was just kind of like, here I am, I have this degree, but what do I do with it? I didn't have those other kind of intangible skills. Right. That I realize are really important. Anyways, then I had just like a kind of real world, what I now know is called a quarter life crisis. So I didn't know this at the time until I talked about it with a couple of my other friends. And they're like, oh yeah, I had a hard time after college too. And some of them had like great jobs right away. So it wasn't just a matter of like, oh, I'm living in my neighbor's basement. Like, why am I, what have I done? And so they're like, oh, the real world's hard. And it's like, oh, whatever. And then it's like, oh, no, it is. But it's also great, but it can be, you know? So for me, I wish I kept in contact with my high school friends a little better because they were still back in Seattle, and I would have had like that friend group there again when I moved back, as opposed to just missing my college friends and feeling kind of forlorn. But anyways, all's well that ends well. I ended up running again after kind of taking some time off to just bike and play soccer, and ended up running again because I just loved it. I was burnt out after college, but I just loved it. And I did costume road races and ended up trying to make the Olympic trials. Didn't make it, but then ended up getting pulled onto this obstacle course racing scene, becoming a professional, and just having a better athletic career than I ever actually could have imagined, to be honest. So just keep pushing away. But I was doing it because I loved it. I did not have the goal to be a professional athlete. I was just running because I loved to do it.
Right.
And usually I was doing it dressed up as Wonder Woman at a local 5K road race for a long time. So that's if you take away nothing else from my from my rambling monologue here, it's just, you know, they're like, find your passion, but do, work hard, all that stuff. But at the same time, like, check yourself and say, am I enjoying this to some degree too? Am I surrounded by people who are into this, and just kind of like, am I just doing it because my parents want me to, or do I actually have a desire to do this?
Right. So let's fast forward to the more recent past, and now you're a professional athlete. You do these obstacle course races, mostly Spartan races, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of kids out there, they don't know what that means to be a professional obstacle course racer. Talk to us a little bit about how sponsorships work and winning races and stuff like that, how you can actually be a professional racer.
Sure. Yeah. So after college, I ended up going back and working at a summer camp for a summer, and then back at the grocery store, which was super fun. And then back at the grocery store, and was like, okay, where am I? What's my next plane here? And I ended up going to an interview to be a personal trainer, and I was so nervous. I almost turned around. I just was like, I don't have a certification. I don't know really what I'm doing. Like, I like to lift weights, but I don't really know what I'm doing. But I got the job, and I ended up breaking the sales record for January of, like a year and a half later. And a friend of mine was like, who's a salesperson, who was one of my first clients, he was like, you don't have a close. You're just enthusiastic. Like, once I realized I could really help people, from a whole variety of goals. I've had people a guy lost 85 pounds, 75 pounds, and people just were so, never saw themselves as athletic. And then they were doing this half Ironman, and they couldn't believe, that they could do something like that. And it helped them in their career and all that. It was such a great, fun, cool job that I was totally into that. And I started trying to make the Islamic trials. Got sucked into obstacle course racing, loved it, but that didn't require, but I realized it'd be helpful to go train at altitude in Colorado and things like that, because the World Championship was at altitude. And I ended up having some companies, basically reach out to me and say, hey, we would love to sponsor you. I'm like, awesome. What does that mean? I'd had like some shoe sponsorships and just like free shoes and stuff before. They're like, we'll, pay you $1,000 a month or whatever to, advertise for our, fitness equipment. And now we're in the social media world, make a post once a month using it and taking, here's this, hyperwear sandbag that it was great for this and that, whatever. So it's like a mini commercial basically. And then wear the logo while racing. So, and I ended up having some really good sponsorships. I kind of like more and more as I started to do more obstacle course races, won a handful in a row, which helped. And then they put them on NBC. So then there was the visibility, and I had someone I was going back and forth with, and it was exciting. So I had like Marriott Rewards for a while, Panasonic, and now I still have just a so awesome Cliff Bar. They've been amazing. And a company now called Mitoki, which is awesome too, based in New Zealand, which I was going to go to New Zealand this year, but anyways, maybe next year.
Yeah.
But Cliff Bar is fantastic. They're a company that they're doing good in the world, right? So I'm like, man, not only am I just like, it's like, I'm not just like helping a corporation make more money. It's like Cliff Bar's a private company, and they're like donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to relief efforts, and they're donating Cliff Bars to frontline workers. Like, it's so cool to be aligned with companies, especially when you get to be a little bit picky, that really kind of stand for what I stand for. So that's been really awesome. And they're basically just supporting me, with my dreams. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's still work. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm still waking up being like, I have to go run 12 miles today. Like I would just rather lay in bed, right? Like I'm human, you know. But at the same time, I was like, oh, that cognitive reframe is like, I get to go do this. Like, this is my job. There are people trying to do this after they go work 9 hours at an office job with the boss yelling at them, probably making more than I'm making, but still paying more in therapy and all that because they don't like their life, you know? So anyways, yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. So that gets us full circle to now that you've been on American Ninja Warrior 4 times, I believe, and have been a finalist a couple times. So talk about that. What was it like to get onto Ninja Warrior the first time, and what have you liked most about being part of that community and part of the whole Ninja Warrior movement?
The American Ninja Warrior community rocks because what's different about that than, say, obstacle course racing is that no one has to lose for anyone else to win necessarily. I mean, yeah, there are some times when that's the case, but in general, everyone is just so supportive because it's you versus the course, right? Everyone's there helping each other out. Oh man, I bet you could do it this way. Or like get a good swing on that one because that one's trickier. The third one is wobbly. You know, like we're helping each other out as opposed to like, oh, I don't want anyone else to do well because if I fail on this one, I don't want anyone else to go further. No, we're just like, cool, try this. I wish I'd tried this instead of that, you know? And I love that. Everyone's cheering. It's not just like reality TV show. Like it's real. We're out there doing our best. We're cheering for each other. And that's been a neat, different thing because I've had mainly really awesome competitors because in track and field, you're a competitor, but you're also a teammate. You know, especially in cross country, you're working together. Yeah, you're working against each other. You're competing against each other, but you're still working together. Your points add up as a team, all of that. So I know what it's like to be competing against someone, but then also a teammate. But there's some people who didn't really have that track background. So when they started obstacle course racing, it was like, I need to beat you to win. You are in my way for my goals. And so there was like, I was used to being friends with everyone. And there's some people who like, didn't really seem like they wanted to be friends, which is okay. No one has to be my friend, but it was just then refreshing to go into Ninja and everyone's like, let's all be friends. Let's all help each other out to be the best we can be. And it's like, yes, this is cool.
Yeah, that's really great. Do you have a favorite moment from the show or an experience that you had?
You know, the first year I did it, I was there with a few other obstacle course racing friends. So I was able to like be there with a group of friends as I was getting to know cool new friends. And I was super nervous before this show. Like my friend Cassidy, who's there with me, also an obstacle course racer, but never been on the show Ninja either. I like asked her, I practiced at a Ninja gym the day before nearby and my arms were tired. Like I overdid it. And I was like, oh no, my arms are so sore. She'd just come in like the day before and hadn't gone. Anyways, she wasn't sore. And so I was like, getting groceries at the store and I was like, can you hold my basket for me? I just need to rest my arms, you know? She's like, oh, sure, because she's cool. But I was so nervous and I've raced hundreds of times and I don't usually get like super duper nervous. I still get nervous as I care, but I don't tend to get like, can't sleep for 5 days nervous. But man, I was nervous before that. And every time I got past even one obstacle, I was legitimately thrilled. And it might look like if you watch the clip that I'm like overdoing it for the crowd, like woohoo, but I was literally like, I'd watched so many people fall on every single obstacle. The first one, the second one, like people who looked strong and good. And I was like, oh man, but I got it and was like, yeah. The second one, oh my gosh. The third one barely made it, fell down in the process, but it got, you know, and then got to the fourth one and got to the end of it and then belly flopped off. But it was such a rush. All these cameras are on you. There's lights. It's late at night. It's like you're staying up late, and it's such a cool experience that I definitely came back every year. They asked me to come back, which has been actually every year. And then I had a baby, so I didn't go that year, of course. But I did go watch. So there's a picture of me like on the course. But anyways, just a great community. Super cool. Exciting thing to do. But I will say this though, just it wasn't even a goal of mine, but now it is because like I know how great it is. But you know, I've set so many goals in my life, and most of them I've not hit. But the process of shooting for them, like when I had my child almost 3 years ago, I had big goals. I was like, I'm gonna come back and be the first mom at the work wall. you know, at 7 months later, when I was, you know, on the show and stuff, I fell in the first obstacle they didn't even air. Right. So it's like, but the process of training kept me moving. Like having these goals kept me moving. And we moved to Colorado after we had our child, when she was only 2 months old, because I thought Colorado would be the best place to train. And it is a great place to train, but I left my friends and family, and I had postpartum depression, because that runs in my family anyway, just like kind of chemically and stuff. But then I was away from my support system and all that. And I was so tired, just like trying to get out of bed, trying to go for a run, so tired, being woken up 5 times and all that. But I had these goals. I was going to come back and do all this great stuff. And I fell so far short on all of my obstacle course racing goals. Win that race, you didn't even get top 15, that level. But in my mind, I was winning races the whole time because I was visualizing, and it helped me get up and out the door to go for a run amidst my postpartum depression, which then gave me an endorphin boost, which then made it not be as bad as it could have been. I had more of a kind of like a moderate as opposed to severe level of it. And I think it was really helpful that I held on to these perhaps unrealistic goals and was able to just get my body moving and exercising every day.
Right.
Because I felt like I wanted to once I got going, but I felt like I had to before I got going, and got me up and out the door.
Yeah. Well, I love that part of your story, because one thing that I think we do a disservice to kids in school is we talk a lot about goal setting and setting really big, grandiose goals, but so many kids have such a short timeline on those goals. And so they'll set a goal for the next 2 years, 3 years. And then when they get to be 35, 40, 45, they're not setting goals anymore, and they're not enjoying that process that you're going through as you're staying at an elite level, continuing to set new goals. And it's okay if you don't reach them all, because as you mentioned, it's the work towards them that is the reward, right? Is the process.
Totally. It's enjoying the process, even when it's hard. I feel like a lot of high school and college students get the whole like work hard. And yes, working hard is a key component in our society in getting to a place where you can like not live with your parents, and just like things that we value in our society. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you just work hard and you don't take care of yourself, your body, your mind, eat healthy food, just work hard and never rest, you're going to be burnt out. I'm reading these books about all these famous successful people, but they're like, and then one day I was so exhausted because I haven't slept for 2 years practically, and I fell on my desk and hit my head, and that was a wake-up call. It's like, I didn't want to wait till I'm luckily my version of success as far as athletics right now, it means I have to take like sleep a lot, and I can build that in. Like I literally just got up from a nap like 35 minutes ago, but I don't feel guilty doing it because I'm like, oh, I'm resting my legs from working out. Which, by the way, I didn't do this morning as it's a day off, but still from the days past. But I think that one of the reasons I've lasted as long as I have is because I've still had fun. So I've done my costume road races. I'm still having fun. I'm not just me and how many miles did I run or what was my last race. That's not all of my identity. Right. I'm still a sister. That's more important than being an athlete. I'm now a mom, partner, all these different components that are important to me that I'm still fostering, some more than others. Obviously, like I'm a mom before I'm like the friend calling up, because like you got to kind of take care of your kid first. But my point is that because I've kept up those other parts of me to some degree, and I've had fun along the way, and I've rested and relaxed along the way, I've just lasted more than most people. Like people get injured as athletes, and they can take some time off, and then they tend to come back. But if someone gets mentally burnt out, that's usually when you see really good talented people just stop and just do something else, because if you're mentally burnt out, then that's, if you're physically injured, then usually like in 6 weeks, your stress fracture will heal and just go cross train, and then you'll be fine. But mental burnout, that's like, there's no time frame for that. It's like, you got to rest, you got to read some books, you got to chill out, you got to do whatever it is you do for your life. And it's just harder for some people. So rest, work hard, but also have fun, foster other parts of your identity, friendships, family, all that. And relax, learn to like totally relax and like not have it be all of your identity. And then if you don't hit your goals, whatever, move on to the next one, like whatever, right? But if you do hit a goal, know also that it doesn't necessarily mean your life is going to be everything you wanted and more. Like, you might just say, cool, I hit a goal, I won that particular race that I really wanted to win, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, everything else is the same, right? So, you know, I think when I've worked with people as a personal trainer, they're like, oh man, if only I could, lose these extra 35 pounds. I can't fit into my clothes anymore. I feel tired. I don't feel confident in myself anymore. Only I could lose these 35 pounds. My whole life would be better. I could find be in the right relationship, get the right job, and have all this confidence. Like, yeah, you might get more, you probably will get more confidence. You'll get more energy. You'll be all that, but it's not like your whole life is going to necessarily, it's a big load to put on. Like, everything in my life is going to come together. Like, I would work on other things in other ways too. Like, if you want to have good friends, be a good friend. Losing 35 pounds isn't going to necessarily make you give you better friends. There's a lot more to life, I think, balance wise, than just go work hard, set goals, and then once you get them, you will have achieved. Because then we fall into the trap of, I'll be happy when, right? Like, I'll be happy when I graduate from high school, when I get into this or that college, when I, get married, have kids. And then it's like all of our life, oh, I'll be happy when I get the right job. I'll be happy when I get retired. It's like, I want to be happy now. So what do I need to do to be happy now? And am I happy every moment? No. Sometimes I want to be sad or mad. Sometimes it's a time to be mad if something happens. But at the same time, I want to generally be happy with moments of other emotions, because all those are important. But yeah. Life is fun. Life is an adventure.
It is. And I can attest to that. I love, as we're winding down here, that you shared, and this is really a gold nugget for you kids listening, that the process and the pursuit is important. Having goals is important, but knowing who you are and what makes you happy, and finding that time to rest and relax, that's also important. And people aren't going to, if you hit these huge goals in your life, that's not going to change how people treat you. I mean, when I lost 100 pounds, it made zero difference in how anyone treated me in my life. And when I ran a 50 miler, same thing. Nobody even knew, no one cared. It was great for me. It made me feel good, but it's not going to affect how people treat you.
No, especially not the people who you want to care about. Like, my parents couldn't even tell you what events I ran. I mean, they had 9 kids. They'd barely have seen me race, and that's fine. Wouldn't expect that. They're, holding down the fort. But at the same time, it's like, they love me no matter what, So it might change how you treat yourself. If you need to do this to understand how to, love yourself and care for yourself, then that might be a kind of a way to get to it. It'd be great if we could just automatically love ourselves no matter what, unconditionally, but if you kind of need to like work through that, like we all tend to need to, that's one thing. But yeah, for other people, they just don't, they're your goals. Here's the thing. I've noticed that people often reflect on how your own feelings. So if I come back from a race and I tell my friends, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I got 5th place. Like, I got a 5th place at the World Championships a lot. And I, that was really great for me. Like, my first year, especially, it was like top 5. Top 5 was the podium for the TV. I was thrilled. It was a super long race, like 3-hour race. I'd never done anything that long. I was like, I got 5th place. People were like, they were so excited for me. But then there was another race where it's like, I got like 3rd place, but I wanted to win. So it's like, oh, I got 3rd place. And one time I got second. I was like, oh, I got 2nd place. I lost the race. And someone was like, 2nd place sounds pretty good to me. Like, but people will just, they'll just gauge off you. They just want you to be happy, is my point. So if you're happy, whether it's I finished or this or that, they're just listening for, do you seem happy or not? Like, is 2nd place good or bad? Is 5th place good or bad? Is 379th place good or bad? Like, just, if you're happy, they're happy for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, a lot of wisdom in this interview today. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your story and the various bits of advice that you sprinkled in there. If kids want to follow you or connect in social media or something like that, where's the best place to find you online?
I'm on Instagram at Running Rosie, RUNNING ROSIE. And I'm on Facebook, Rose Wetzel. Not really on Snapchat. Kind of missed that era just a little bit. So I'd say Instagram mainly is where I'm at,
cool.
At Running Rosie.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thanks, Tyler. See you later.